Hi everybody, it's Jen Rogers with Art with Jen, and this is going to be the painting I'm doing tonight. This is called Spring is All Around Us because I am hopeful that spring will be here soon. I am tired, I don't know about all of you, but I'm tired of the snow. We have a lot of snow here the last couple weeks. It's been very cold and I'm ready for spring. So I thought I'd do something kind of happy. I just actually painted this today, finished editing it so you guys don't have to watch all the boring parts. I try and fast forward for you so that it's a little bit easier to watch. And I thought this would be fun, and I thought it kind of went good with what I did a couple weeks ago with the Love is All Around Us. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing some Valentine's paintings, so I'm ready for spring. I am a little bit off this week because I've been moving my office around, and I will be giving you guys a tour hopefully next week once I have all paintings up and things moved. But I got all new cabinets, painted all my whole room, and moved everything. So been a little bit crazy and a little bit busy, but I did want to make sure that I got painting done this week, and this is the one. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see whatever you come up with as well. All right, thanks. Hi everyone. So I did do the tracer, and then I outlined that in a Sharpie so that I'll be able to see through that when I put my paint on. So I'm going to start by using a green and a yellow paint on the background. And I'm going to mix it right here on my canvas, but you can use whatever you want. You can mix it on a plate on the side, or if you have some sort of a palette that you like to use. Just for time and to make it easier. Oh, got some paint in there. I'm going to do it right here on the canvas, and I'm going to just mix that up right here. When I'm painting this, I'm using a 3/4 inch flat brush. You can use whatever size you want. I'm not being overly careful because again, I have these lines here. So I'm really just blending it together and going around my flowers as best as I can and around my birds. But I know I'm going to overlap a little bit on my flowers, and I'm not worried at all about the stems. I'm just going to go right over them because I'll be coming over that with a darker green, so that won't be a problem at all. So just do the best you can. I'm going to get the edges as well, and I'm going to speed this up so that you don't have to watch me paint this whole entire thing. But you can use whatever color you want. You don't have to use green. You can do blue or gray or whatever you like. So let's speed that up, and I will come back to paint the birds in a minute. So now I'm going to just mix a little bit more of the yellow in with my green and just kind of put it in between the flowers. I want a little bit more texture and color variation on the background. Not a lot. I could have done a lot more, but I'm just going to fill this in a little bit. I have my background pretty much filled in, and I'm going to take a straight brush and start to fill in my birds. I am using a darker blue on the first bird. I wanted to pick a color that wasn't going to really be in my flowers. I'm probably going to do my flowers more whites and maybe some red and purple, I think, is what I'm picking for these flowers, because I wanted to keep the flowers kind of bright, but also I don't want it to be too dark of a background, so I wanted to make sure I add some light. Now this looks a little dark, but I will be lightening it up later, mixing the blue with some white to add in some feathers and some texture and some lightness on the bird's breast. You probably will have to paint your birds a couple times depending on your paint. I'm actually using an artist's grade paint on this one, and it's filling in pretty good, but I still will have to probably go over it a second time. The other large bird I'm going to do in a crimson red, and that tends to be very light, so I'm going to have to go over that at least another time, maybe 2 or 3 times.
to get the color that I want on that. And then the little baby bird I'm going to be doing with an orange. So I'm going to start with those, just speed this up so you can see how I'm just filling in those birds. Now I'm gonna just fill in this little center of this flower. I did the top ones already. I might change that red one because I'm not loving it, but I'm just gonna fill those in, and then I'm going to do the legs on the bird. And I try and do it in an order that it gives the stuff I've painted a chance to dry before I go back and paint something else. So that's why I don't finish a flower all together, so that way my paints aren't mixing. So I'm gonna use a small liner brush and a little bit of black and just do the legs. And then I'm going to use a liner brush to go in and do my butterfly in blue and a little black for the body. So I'm gonna speed that up, and it should be pretty quick, and I'll be back to talk you through the next steps. Now I'm going to start to fill in the flowers. I'm going to start with the little one down here, and I'm using a magenta, which actually shows up really dark, almost like a red against the green. If you want it to be more pink, you can lighten it up with some white, and I will do that later actually for highlighting it. But right now I'm just doing the darker magenta. I'm going to do a red on the flower that is above the bluebird's beak, well, where the beak will be. I'm going to do white on the corner flower, the large corner flower above the bluebird. And I think I am going to do a purple on the pointy flower, and the other flower under the butterfly will probably end up being a white as well. I'm not thrilled with the shape of that flower, so I might just use my paintbrush to kind of reshape that flower and play with it. I probably should have done something different when I drew it, but it's okay with paint. You can always paint over it and change things up. So I'm going to speed it up while I'm filling in these flowers, and I will be back in a minute. Before I go on to the white flowers, I am going to take the time to fill in the birds again. I just saw they were pretty much dry, so it's a good time for another coat. If you paint on wet paint over and over again, it's not going to fill in. You need to let it dry in between. So I just let it dry a little bit. The red is still not covering exactly how I want it to, so I probably will end up doing a third coat on that, but the blue should be fine, and probably the yellow will be the orange will be in pretty good shape once I'm done with my second coat on that. If you need it to dry faster, you can always use a blow dryer or a heat gun, but with a heat gun, you got to be really careful because it's very hot. So you're better off with a blow dryer to dry that, or you can just wait for it to dry. After I'm done with this, I'm going to move on to the white flowers. So at this point, it doesn't look fantastic, but I'm not loving this little yellow, or this little center, so I'm going to make it yellow. And I just waited for it to dry, and I'm painting over. I like it better already because it's popping, and I like the way that that pops. I want it to be a bright, cheery painting. Right now, the birds are not looking fantastic. They're kind of, well, they don't have beaks. So right now, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some little teeny white lines to their legs. These legs are super duper thin, so I'm using a very thin liner brush and I'm just basically dotting it and dotting them all the way down the legs. And they're not even dots, I'm just kind of putting them random, a little bit apart, and I don't want them to kind of line up with the other leg, so I'm offsetting those. I'm going to do all of those and start to put on the eyes on the birds and start to give them some personality. And then I'm going to do my first pass at my stems for my flowers. I'm going to be coming back in and adding more loops and stuff later, but right now I'm just going to do my first set of the stems so that that can dry. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a little highlight in the eye so that they show up better. I'm using a teeny liner brush and some white paint, and that will kind of just give it a little bit of a something extra and make them look a little cuter and show off the eye a little bit more. I'm going to take some white paint now and I'm going to mix it with each of the colors. So some white in the blue, some white in the orange, some white in the red, and use that to make their wing. So the wing will be a little bit lighter, and I'll use a little bit of it to feather in on the chests of the birds and to highlight a little bit around the bird. I'm not going to use black, I don't think, to highlight most of these like I normally do, just a little bit. So I'll show you here. I need to draw my paint in my wing on my one bird. So I'm gonna do that and then shade it. So I'm gonna speed this up, but I'm not gonna speed it up as fast as normal so you can kind of see how I'm doing it. I'm just using a flat brush for this, a small flat brush. You could try an angled brush, but the small flat brush usually works just as well. Now that I have the highlights on the birds, I'm going to go in and start to kind of highlight some of the flowers. So as I said before, with this small one, I'm going to mix a little bit of white paint in with my magenta and just kind of outline the petals on that and maybe put some dots in the center, some polka dots and polka dots, I think, on the leaves. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the purple one. I'm gonna do some highlighting with some I'm gonna mix the purple with the white and highlight that one and do some polka dots, I think, on my cute little butterfly up there. So it's just really highlights, just kind of to make it fun and make them stand out a little bit more. So we're gonna do that, and then I will get back to you on the next step. Okay, I think I want to do a few more dots in the white flower here. And then I'm going to just move on and do highlighting of the beaks. And I'm going to do some black in black. And then I'm going to do some outlining of the white flowers in black. I'm not going to do the red or the purple or even the pink because I already outlined that in kind of a lighter pink. So I'm just going to do a little bit of outlining and see how I like it from there. I highlighted both the flowers and I really didn't like the second white one below the butterfly. So what I did is I went back over it with white. It's kind of gray and mushy right now, so I need to let it dry to come back over with white again. So I don't want that one highlighted. Now I'm just going to highlight some of my stems. I'm just doing a little bit darker or lighter green on the darker green. And then I'm going to come back in with some white highlights in the curly cues. And I think I'm going to add some more curly cues to make them kind of look a little bit like leaves and see how that turns out. If I don't love it, then we will change it. So I'm going to fast forward this. I'm also going to highlight my butterfly in white instead of black. So I'm going to outline it in white so it pops a little bit more off the page. So I'm going to speed that up and I will come back when I start to do the grass. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do really quick strokes to put in some grass. And I'm really just going in one direction for like 3 or 4 strokes, then in the opposite direction, then back and forth. And then if I feel like one looks a little bit too far off, I'll add another one. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. I'm just kind of stick them in there. I'm not making it super long grass because I want to make sure we can see the legs and the flowers, and I don't want it competing too much with everything else going on. But it obviously they need to be standing on something, and I don't want to put feet on. So this is a really kind of nice way to hide their little feet because they're in the grass. So it just looks like they're standing in the grass and we don't have to put feet on. Sometimes I do put the feet on, but sometimes they look so weird. So I'm not a big fan of the feet. So if I could put something or have them standing on something, I try and do that. So again, it's a lighter than my original stems, but I'm just kind of crisscrossing back and forth. And then I'll just paint along the bottom of my canvas in the same green. I originally did the sides in the lighter green, but I think I'm just going to carry that through the bottom so that I can have my line come up and meet my grass. So I'm going to get that done. And then we will move on to doing some more loops on the stems. So my grass is in pretty good shape, and I'm just trying to highlight and make some more loops here on my stems. And I'm not really making any really rhyme or reason to these either. I'm just kind of sticking them where I think they might look good or to fill in some empty space, and hopefully they will turn out okay. I'm not making them into actual leaves because this is really kind of trying to be more whimsical and silly type of a painting. It's not really built to scale or anything realistic. So, and I'm thinking that some of my stems are looking a little fat. So after I'm done doing these and I'm highlighting, I'm going to do some white highlights like inside the curlicues. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with the lighter green that I used for the background and go over some of the stems once they're dry and make them a little skinnier. So that's the really nice thing about the acrylic paint is I can come in and fix any of my mistakes once it's dry and make it different. So I'm not really like the white flower. For some reason that white flower underneath the butterfly is kind of like my nemesis. I'm not loving it. I don't like the flower. I don't like the stem. So I'm going to go in and try and fix that and make it something that I like a little bit better. So I'm going to speed that up, but that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm just kind of playing around with the way it looks and then, you know, seeing what looks good. Okay, let's speed this up. Okay, so I didn't actually end up doing the highlights on my stems yet because I wanted them to dry a little bit. What I did is I went back and did the white up on my flower under the butterfly. So now I am going to do just a little bit of highlighting on the birds in black, outlining, I guess, more highlights or more white. But I'm not going to do all of them. So I'm just going to do parts of the birds. I'm not going to do their wings, I don't think. I think I'm going to leave them this time and not really bring the line all the way for all the birds, especially the blue one. The blue one's a little dark. I might just do a little bit of outlining on that one, but just a little bit of black outlining. Then I will come in, because then it will be dry enough, and do my white highlights on my stems and come in and do some correcting on the thickness of the stems and some of the highlighting that I want done on those stems. So I am going to fast forward now and get those steps done for you. While I'm waiting for some of the lighter green to dry that I corrected, I'm going to come in and do some little light kind of bubbles. I don't know why. I just think they'll look cute. Obviously, they really don't belong, but I like circles, so I'm just gonna, I think, put some really light. I'm not doing them super thick. White bubbles around and kind of fill in some of the blank spaces and see how I like them. If I really don't like them, I can paint over them. And hopefully when I'm done with that, the correction that I did over the stem will be dry enough that I can come in and with a really light liner brush and fix my stem and make it thin like I want it to be. So I'm just gonna just put them every which way, I don't know. Just kind of like something floating in the air. I was thinking I would do kind of like a dandelion, the little white wishies from the dandelion, but then I thought, that might not be obvious what it is. So I'm just gonna do a little white bubbles and see how that turns out. So let's fast forward on this one. So since I have my white out, I'm gonna do a little bit of a highlight on the wings. I wasn't originally gonna do black, but I think I'm gonna do a little bit of white on the wings just as a little highlight, just to kind of make them show up just a little bit more. And then I should be able to do my stems, but I figured since I have the white out, I think that will kind of just make it pop a little bit. Just a little white along the edges to highlight that. I think that looks cute. I don't know. Yeah, I like it. I really like the bubbles. I think those turned out really cute. I know they don't necessarily go in a garden, but who knows? Maybe someone's blowing bubbles and the birds see them. I just wanted to be a cute, fun painting to hang along with my other one. So now I will go and lightly use, I'm going to use one of my favorite brushes and just go in with the stem and lightly go back down and make my stem back in there so it's nice and thin. So see, that's a lot better. That's a lot thinner and looks a lot better, at least in my opinion. I like it a lot more. So I'm going to finish doing that, and then I'm going to come in with a little teeny bit more yellow on my background so I can blend the background when I did the correction a little bit better. And then I think we will be done. I think for the most part I'm done. I will come back in, like I said, and do a little bit more yellow on that one part of the flower, just a couple more highlights. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. I will seal it once that's all done. And I hope you all had a really good time and learned something and enjoyed doing the painting with me. And I will be back in a couple weeks with a new one. Thanks so much and have a great night.